Hello everyone, this is Pluto. Welcome to another video. So, in this video, as you can see I'm in Azteca. I wanted to talk about the new upcoming Azteca raid, which has been leaked on Twitter by Amoplex. I wanted to talk about it, mainly because I have some major issues with the Dragonspire raid, or the Voracious Void raid, that I want to see them improve upon in this new raid. I'm very excited to see where this new raid goes. I'm super excited. There's a lot of things we know, and a lot of things we don't know. And I just wanted to talk about it. So, one of the first things that we do know, I'm actually going to put the video of it on the screen right now. So, just watch this.
Honestly, it's a little too late for pity system.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It is tough. But next one will.
You heard? Oh, you guys heard that?
Two more.
Confirmed for raid 2.
I think I said that before, or it should. Probably will. Let me clarify this with less conclusive language.
Okay, probably will have.
Probably. Like a very likely.
Yeah, so the people that only want like one.
So as you can see by the video there, we could be potentially getting a pity system with this raid. So if you don't know what a pity system is like a system of crafting where you can do a fight multiple times and get a reagent or such from it, and you can use those reagents to create your own gear. It just makes getting gear easier. And I think this is a great improvement to the last raid. We didn't have a pity system. Basically, if you got the gear, you got the gear. If you didn't get the gear, you didn't get it. There's nothing you can do. And it just made it a lot worse for farming. And I think this is just this has great potential. I really hope this comes into fruition. I did try to be as vague as possible as it can, but I think if they do this, it would greatly benefit this new raid, and I think that this raid would actually be a lot easier to acquire your gear than the previous one. So another thing I wanted to put up, there will be a picture on the screen, is that Ratbeard said that there will actually be dialogue and there will actually be a story here for this raid, from what it seems. This is very exciting. The Voracious Void raid didn't really have any dialogue. It was more just like a dungeon you do. I'm really excited to see dialogue for this raid. Now, there is an issue with it. I think you should be able to turn dialogue completely off, because dialogue can interfere with the time. Maybe the first few times you listen to the dialogue, it's all good, but eventually when you need to like click through really fast, it's just going to become a hassle and it's going to like lesser the time. Maybe when dialogue is playing, the timer stops, but I don't know exactly how that would work. So as long as they implement that properly, I think that's a great feature. So now we're going to get into some speculation territory. I'll actually put pictures on the screen while I'm talking about this of the Azteca raid, of what it's going to look like in there, just a bunch of pictures that I found that Amoplex posted. So I want to get into some speculation. So here's some of my major suggestions. So I want more players. I want new puzzles. I want it to be a harder raid. I want there to be better gear. I want the raid key, getting the raid key to be better. And I just have like a bunch of mini suggestions and feedback for this raid. I'm not saying that all of these should be implemented. I don't think it's reasonable to say all of these should be implemented. But like if a few of these are implemented, very beneficial to this new update. So the first thing, and this is the top of the list for this, I want KI to make it so that more players can join this raid. So in the current raid, only 12 players can join. 12, you can't get any more. 8 players on the outside team, 4 players on Vanguard, then that's it. For this, I want them to make it so, I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, I would say 50 people. The maximum amount of guild members you can have. 50 people can join a raid. And that's the maximum. Right? That would be ideal. But I know that's unreasonable, and I don't think that's going to happen, so why don't we do 12 at the minimum, right? You can still have only 4 people on Vanguard. That's still possible. Maybe increase it to 8 people on Vanguard or something, I don't know. So 12 people at the minimum, 4 on Vanguard, and then you can have as many players as you want on the outside team. Because really, having as many players as you want on the outside team doesn't really make the raid less difficult. If you had infinite number of players on the outside team for the Voracious Void Raid. When it first came out, yes, it would have been more difficult, but after a bunch of updates where they tweaked damage and pierce, it wouldn't make it any less difficult. It wouldn't ruin the raid. It wouldn't make it easier for anyone. It was still a hard raid. So I think just making it so many more players can join on the outside team. You need at least 12 at the minimum. It'll open the gate, and all the players go out, 4 people at Vanguard. I think that makes sense. I think that's reasonable, and I really hope that they consider doing that. So another thing I wanted to talk about is making the drops more specific. So what I mean by that is I want them when you get a drop rate, maybe at the final boss, I want them to make it so you get one stool specific piece of gear, any. Even if it's like tier 2, tier 3, whatever, any stool specific piece of gear. And then one off stool. And that's the minimum. That's all the drops you get. One on stool, one off stool. Right now, I think you get 2 maximum drops from the final boss, and they can be any stool. Make it just so that one's on stool and one is off stool. Not only does that encourage you playing on all of your characters, doing raids on every single one of your characters, it just makes it so much more simpler to get the drops that you want. And it doesn't interfere with getting drops for other characters too, because you will get off-stool pieces of gear as well. It just makes it a little bit easier for whatever stool you want to do the raid on. Another thing that can maybe come along with that is you can make it harder. You can make it harder to warrant that new drop rate. You can make the raid much, much harder for people. Also, with increased player limit, if you make it hard to where the player limit does not really affect anything, does not really do anything to it, you can have as many players as you want, but that doesn't really help you in any way, that's just great. That's great. That's great game design, because if it's still the same level of difficulty, no matter how many players you have in there, I think that would be very good. I think that'd be fine. I think it would be fine to make it so as many players as you want can join. But also, they could do some reverse of that, where they make it so that the more players you have, potentially, the easier it is. So that encourages you to make big groups, get large groups of people, get large amounts of people in there. So another thing I wanted to talk about is I don't want there to be a weekly cooldown. I want them to make the raid so difficult that it doesn't need a weekly cooldown. So how would they do this? I think the thing that they can do is they can just make the puzzles extremely difficult for the outside team, and they change the puzzles from raid to raid. So the puzzle doesn't stay the same. It will change. And they can add, maybe 12 preset puzzles, and it's completely random. So you're going into the raid not knowing what you're doing. Eventually, maybe after half a year or something, people will probably get the puzzles on lock, right, and memorize them. But for the most part, I want them to make it so it's so difficult, so hard to memorize them, that honestly, it would just be it's impossible. Maybe it's impossible to memorize them, and you're just left in the dark in a lot of ways. And you're just hoping that you get a puzzle that you know. Maybe. But if they do that, if they make just the puzzles really, really difficult for the outside team, it would warrant a no weekly cooldown. It would warrant them being able to make raid keys infinitely and being able to try the raid as many times as they want. Another thing with the weekly cooldown is that it's going to be a lot harder for players to actually test out the new raid when it comes to Live Realm, to actually learn how to do it. Right? We don't want it to be extremely difficult for players to be able to figure out how to actually do the raid. You would want it to be easier for players to figure out how to do it, but harder for them to actually do it. That would be ideal. Another thing I want to talk about is that I just want there not to be a mana game. I want them to differentiate it from the Dragonspire raid a little bit. In the Dragonspire raid, the mana game was fun. It was a unique idea. It was pretty cool, I would say, but I would want them to change it up a little bit. So I had the idea, maybe this is a dumb idea, I don't know, but I had the idea of a damage game instead, where you would take damage every so often, and you have to stop it, or maybe it would decrease your damage. Maybe it's the reverse. It would decrease your damage maybe by 5 to 10% every minute or something. I don't know. And then the players on the outside would have to stop it. It would just be interesting. Just try and differentiate it a little bit. Don't make it the mana game again. Differentiate it. This also goes hand in hand. I want them to bring in new aspects to the puzzles. In the Voracious Void Raid, we got the puzzles that we got mana game, right? There was also the health wisps chest, the mana wisp chest, finding the tokens in pet mode, defeating the bosses, trying to get the cards, and those were cool and all, right? But I think that they can differentiate this raid a lot by bringing in new aspects. I think maybe like fishing puzzles. There was fishing in the raid that wasn't explored at all. There were fish in the raid. If they like bring in fishing puzzles, maybe you have to catch a certain fish to open a door or something, and it gives them a power up or something. I don't know. A fishing puzzle would be cool. Maybe a puzzle requiring pet castle magic. I know that's like maybe it's not possible, but like if they make it so you can like use castle magic in there or something, I don't know. That'd just be very cool. A puzzle requiring you to use cantrips. Right now cantrips is really only used in raids for the cards. Maybe you need to like do a rock paper scissors thing. You need to win a game of that. Maybe you need to win a dice roll, something like that. That'd be very cool. Also just I don't know, gardening maybe, monstrology. I don't know. Just bring in as many aspects of the game as you can into this new raid, and I think it would greatly benefit from it. Even photomancy would be kind of cool. It'd be very easy, but photomancy would be very cool for this as well. So another thing, this is probably not going to come in this update, and then maybe it won't even come in the update after, but I would want them to make eventually raid PvP, or even Guild Wars, whatever you want to call it, but I would want there to be a special game mode where you compete against another guild to complete a raid. So essentially what it would be is the sides would be the same. It would be the same sides on both. So it would basically just be them competing each other to get to the end. It'd be like a race in a way. And then at the end, you open up a loot chest. The first team that did open up the loot chest wins. Something like that. I think it'd just be very cool to see that, like, basically a race. It'd be a race, and it'd be a lot of RNG, but it would also be a lot of skill. It'd be a lot of which guild can complete this raid first, right? They can be like the exact same layout. It can be just 2 Dragonspire raids, 2 Azteca raids next to each other, and then in the middle there's just a chest, and whichever team gets to the chest first. I think that'd be very cool, a very unique idea. And basically, this all boils down to, I just want them to differentiate it a little bit from the Dragonspire raid. I want them to make it different. I want them to make it better. I think that this raid will be better in a lot of ways, and I hope it doesn't remain the exact same. I will be playing it in Test Realm. I will be playing it in Live Realm, trying to get the gear. So look forward to new content about that. I will be making a raid guide when it comes out. Summer update isn't too far away. I know it's we just got the spring update, but I don't know, like July, maybe June, July-ish. We're gonna be getting the summer update, and it's gonna be very cool. I'm very excited to see what happens in this new update. So thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye.